Hello everybody, welcome to the PitchVision live Ask PitchVision session. I am David Hinchliffe and hopefully we're going to have a few people tuning in today to ask a few questions, have a chat about cricket and generally discuss things around coaching and playing cricket. I have a whole bunch of questions that have been sent in by people over the course of this week, and so starting in about 5 or 6 minutes or so, I am going to be answering a few questions. Now you can post your questions directly to me in the comments section and I will get those straight away, and if you want to discuss what I'm talking about, then please feel free to do that as well, because I certainly don't know everything about cricket coaching and playing cricket, and there's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different ways that you can achieve the same results when it comes to improving your game or improving the games of other people. So if you hear me say something that you disagree with completely, don't keep quiet. Don't slam your fist down on the keyboard angrily. Type away, put in what you think has worked for you, or what you think has worked for others, and we can get a discussion going around whatever the topic is. And that topic can be to do with broad things like batting, bowling or fielding, or it can be specifics, like it can be something to do with if you want to improve your ability to bat under pressure, for example. So don't restrict yourself to anything. As long as it's related to improving cricket in some way, then that's a good thing to talk about. We're getting some questions coming in, so maybe we'll just have a little look at those before we start the actual questions section. Let's see. So Rishi's asking about how the ball swings after bouncing, as it doesn't maintain its seam position after bouncing. That's a great question. Well done. And Praveen's asking about getting line and length quickly as possible. So presumably that's batting, if you want to pick line and length. If anyone has any answers to these questions, by the way, feel free to post them in the comments section. Oh, yep. Thanks very much for the error correction there from a young man named Jonathan Fern. Yeah, it is backwards, isn't it? Look, Ask PitchVision is backwards. I guess that's just the nature of using a phone to record this. Everything's backwards. So hopefully my answers won't be too backwards. How much time does it take to be a good bowler? That's a good question as well. And how can I get control of the new bowl? Oh, well, that's brilliant as well. So there's some really good questions going on here. And also Ben has posted a question about how do you know where your off stump is when you're batting? Good question, because you can't see it, can you? You're looking at the ball and then that stump is behind you. So if you haven't got that sense for where it is, you could be quite embarrassed letting that ball go, like Michael Clarke in the 2005 Ashes. I'm sure many an Englishman has done it as well, but that one springs to mind. I don't know why Michael Clarke leaving the ball in the 2005 Ashes for Simon Jones to bowl him on his off stump. So we've all done it. I've done it. Left the ball outside off stump. Oh, and there it goes, off stump. Thanks very much for coming. So, a really good question. What time is it now? Let's see. About 2 minutes before we actually start. And once I start answering the questions, I'll try and get through as many as I can. There is going to be a longer version of the show posted on PitchVision.com. So make sure that you go over to PitchVision.com after this broadcast has finished, and you can see even more answers to even more questions. I'll try and answer as many as I can after the show, and you can head over to PitchVision.com and have a look at that. Some really good questions coming in. Adil's question, how can you get more spin? Dakshin's question about the match, the India versus New Zealand match. So yeah, if you are keeping an eye on India against New Zealand or England against Bangladesh, feel free to post your thoughts on what's going on in there as well while we're broadcasting. Praveen, what's the correct line and length to control boundaries? Interesting question. Maybe, Praveen, maybe you can tell me a bit more about that one. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, but I've got a vague idea. Damon's already helping out with a question. Damon says, Ben, I used to have the same problem, but I started marking middle and then marking off as well a bit further down the wicket. And when I looked down, I'd have a rough idea of where it was. So yeah, well, there you go. Give yourself an indicator there. Romano says, as a batsman, I'm struggling to play the ball under my eyes. I'm only playing in the line of the ball. Any advice? Welcome to the West of Scotland Cricket Club members who are joining us on the live feed. Of course, that's the team that I coach, and hopefully they'll be singing my praises, but perhaps not. We'll find out shortly. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Fernie, for giving me a bit of a praise there. I like that. Okay, so let's start answering a few questions. So I'm going to get through as many as I can. As I said, I've got a few on the iPad here, which I will start off with. Keep posting your questions here. If any answers spring to mind while I'm talking, then please feel free to post them in the comments. Morning to Lavers there, co-host on the PitchVision Academy cricket show. Unfortunately, Jay Fern, I am taken, so off the market there, I'm afraid. So no opportunity for you there on that one. But I will answer cricket questions. First question we got when I asked for some questions was from Gabrielle. So I thought I'd start with that one. Gabrielle says, I'm a fast bowler, but I've got a real issue with no balls. Any ideas on how I might remedy this? I'm fine until I get to the popping crease. So run up is okay. So what I'm going to assume here is this is front foot no balls. Different people have different answers to this question, but the one I've found has worked in the past with people bowling no balls is to work out exactly where you jump from. And if your jump is consistent, which most bowlers, whether you do a great big long hang time jump or whether it's quite a short little skip, whatever your jump is, as long as you are consistently jumping from where you take off to where you land, then you know that your front foot is always going to land in the same place as long as you take off from the same place. So making sure that you hit your takeoff point is more important than where you start your run up from. So if your takeoff point is the same every time, then your front foot should land in the same place every time. So try experimenting with running up, working out where your takeoff point is, and then marking that and then making sure you hit that every time in your net sessions. And if you're doing that and you're finding that you're bowling behind the line in net sessions, then you are going to be okay. The other thing that works quite well is just visualizing where you want the front foot to land when you do some practice. So without a batsman, try and imagine jumping and landing with your foot anywhere between the two creases, because you don't need to land with your back of your heel right up against the line. It's not going to give you any more pace that is noticeable to the batsman, even if you bowl from quite far back. If your foot lands, 6 inches, 8 inches behind the line, the batsman's not going to notice any difference in pace, and you're going to be safe behind that line. So give that a try. Welcome to Chris Watley, who's asked me about the slog sweep. Can't stop playing it. Well, nothing wrong with playing the slog sweep. It's a great shot. It gets you a lot of runs. I guess what you're asking is, if you try and play it and don't play it, that's when you're going to be getting into trouble. So tell me, Chris, do you think that you can play the slog sweep well enough to play it? That's the question. So maybe you can give me the answer to that and we can go on in that. Laver's follow-up from, this is the noble question. Also train using something in the umpire's position and position the umpire during matches in a consistent position So you have a constant point of reference in your periphery. So that's to do back with the no balls question. All right, let's scroll back a little bit and get one of these live questions just to mix things up a little bit. Should a reverse sweep be predetermined? That's a really good question, actually, because one of the things that makes sweeping controversial is it's always slightly premeditated, slightly predetermined. It's very difficult to play a sweep shot based purely on the line and length of the delivery, because you've got to get out there so early. So you've always got to have it in your mind, definitely, and you've always got to be thinking, when is the best time that I'm going to be able to play this shot? If you are inexperienced with playing the sweep, then that is a difficult thing to work out. So one of the things that I suggest to younger players is only look to when you have the sweep in your mind, only look to play the sweep when the ball is on a line that you know that you're going to be able to make contact with it, and you probably are not going to get out. Now, for most people, that is just outside the line of leg stump. So if you see the spinner give you one just outside the line of leg stump, have a go for the sweep. If you miss it, you're less likely to get out. You're not going to be at LBW because it's pitched outside leg, and getting bowled around your legs is still a possibility, especially if the ball is turning in that direction. But it's a lot more difficult, especially if you have practiced the sweep shot hard and you know that you can get into a good position. So if you can do that, you can start with that, then yeah, it is slightly premeditated, but it's more like you've got it in the back of your mind rather than thinking, right, I'm going to sweep this ball no matter what happens. And do remember that even if you get quite late into the position of a sweep, and actually this is something that Kevin Peterson talks about in his online coaching course on PitchVision.com, is that you can always pull out of it, right? You don't have to play a full-blooded, massive slog sweep, as Chris was talking about, even a hard sweep along the ground, or even a dab sweep. You can pull out of it completely and just defend the ball. So have it in your mind, but don't be afraid to pull out of it if you need to, and practice it hard. I guess that's going to be one of the things that we talk about a lot, is practicing hard, whatever you want to do, because if you go into a game trying to do something that is you've never tried before, then don't be surprised if it doesn't work. It might do. You might be great at it without ever practicing, but the chances are that it's not going to go according to plan very often. So make sure that you've practiced it, whatever it is, whether it's a sweep shot or coming down the wicket or whatever it is. Make sure that you've practiced it before you take it into games. Akash has said he can't. Sorry, Adel has said he can't hear me. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm running through a microphone, so I wanted to make sure that I can be heard okay. I've got my little mic running down here, so I want to make sure that you can hear me. Just someone let me know that they can hear me okay. Otherwise, I will adjust the settings. Yes, all good. Thank you, Mira. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, back to some questions then. Rishi says, how do you judge the length of the ball when it's flighted as it's above your eye level? Let's just see. Also, how the ball swing after bouncing. Okay, well, we'll talk about judging the length of the ball. And actually, that's for any kind of delivery, whether it's a well-flighted spin ball that is dipping and drifting and you know it's going to turn off a real turning pitch, or it's a seamer bowling and it's straight up and down and it's very medium pace. The only way to get better at doing that is to do it as much as you can. And that sounds like a bit of a cop-out answer to the question. But actually, there's no real way of recreating facing bowlers. You can face the bowling machine, but that's not going to help you as much because you don't get to see the bowling action. You don't get to see the release point of the bowler. And you can even face throwdowns. And if you face throwdowns, that's a little bit better, or even a sidearm, that's a bit better again, because you get to see more of the action. But when it comes down to it, you need to face bowlers who are doing the thing that you struggle with the most. And the more you can face those bowlers, the more your brain is allowed to work out exactly what's happening and make those calculations more quickly. And if you do that, if you face 100 deliveries against a spinner who is causing you trouble and you're finding it hard to pick them, then after 100 balls, you'll be slightly better. And you'll be slightly better after 1,000 balls, and you'll be slightly better again, a lot better again, after 10,000 balls. There's this theory which it's a nice shorthand way of saying do a lot of practice, and it's this idea of 10,000 hours of practice. And although this number, 10,000 hours, is not a magic number in any way, what it says is the harder you practice something, the better you get and the more you can achieve when you practice it. So if you want to practice for facing 10,000 balls, you're definitely going to be better than if you only face 100 balls, or if you face 0 balls, or you only do it in matches. So do what you can to face as many balls as you can in the area that you're struggling, and that will just, you will work out a way of doing it, because most people are good enough to realize when something's going wrong that they need to adapt and they need to change. And if you are working on adapting and changing, then you're working towards becoming a better cricketer. And that's true from whatever skill you're talking about. But when it comes to picking line and length against any type of bowling, then yeah, it's even more true. You just have to face as much bowling as you can. Maintain, just to follow that up with some comments there, Sam Lavery, of course, a cricket professional at Portsmouth Grammar School, a very good coach. He says maintain a consistent position for each delivery. Understand your focus is useful. Do you pinpoint the ball in the bowler's hand, or are you better at looking at the bigger picture? So really that's fantastic extra detail there. Yes, some people do focus very, very tightly on the ball, and other people just sort of more taking the general environment and the setup of the bowler. It's all fairly subconscious, but if you know what your preference is and you work towards improving that preference, then you're going to be better off more quickly. And that's just to build on that 10,000 hours thing of volume, lots of volume. Also, if you make sure the quality is good, then you're going to reduce the amount of time that you need to take in the nets to improve whatever it is you're trying to improve. So yeah, quality is fantastic. Quantity is fantastic. Both together is the best. But yeah, you'll eventually run out of quality, but you won't. You can continue with quantity. So doing both is fantastic. Also following up on that, Lev was talking about dominant and non-dominant eye. That's quite important if you're talking about your setup and which eye tracks ball movement more quickly. So if you find that you are side on and you struggle a bit to pick up the line of the ball, then try opening your stance a bit more, because that might allow your more dominant eye to do the job. So yeah, maybe opening your stance or closing your stance a little bit if you've got an open stance might do the job for you to allow your dominant eye to do more work. You still want to have both eyes looking at the ball, but if you allow your dominant eye to do more work, that'll help you. Okay, another question from Rishi. How does the ball swing after bouncing? It doesn't maintain its seam position after bouncing. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Doesn't always. But yeah, sometimes the seam position is just right. Even a scrambled seam, a slightly scrambled seam, can allow the ball to swing, especially if the conditions are good for swing bowling. I've always played my cricket in the UK, and as a wicketkeeper, I see that firsthand. The ball doesn't swing much before it pitches, and then it pitches, and then it goes past the batsman, and suddenly I'm taking the ball down the leg side because it's swung massively inwards. That happens quite a lot, and I think it's either that the seam position wasn't great at release point, and then it managed to sort itself out before, or it didn't scramble the seam enough that the ball wouldn't swing afterwards. So conditions do allow the ball to swing after the bat, and I'm not a scientist, so I couldn't tell you, the fluid dynamics of it, but I've definitely seen it happen. And my best guess is that it's down to the seam is still in a good enough position to allow the ball to swing, even though it's not quite the same as it was when the ball was released. Okay. Keep putting your questions in. I'll just do another one from that we've been sent in, because we're going to finish this live stream in a few minutes or in a few moments. But I will try and answer as many questions as possible offline once we've finished, and we'll post that onto pitchvision.com. So if your question wasn't answered here, then have a look over on pitchvision.com a little bit later on, and you will get more answers to more questions, and hopefully I'll get round to your one, although there have been quite a lot of questions here. You're welcome, Rishi, by the way. Sumit posted a question earlier in the week, and Sumit said, what should a batsman do if bowlers and fielders are continuously sledging the batsman? And that's a really good question, actually, because whether you agree with sledging or not, and whether you think it's clever and funny or just a bit rubbish, and I've seen both, then how do you deal with it as a batsman? Well, some people love it. Some people really get fired up when everyone's having a go at them. They want that conversation. They want that noise. They want people to be saying, oh, you're rubbish, you're terrible, because then you can prove them wrong. If you feel intimidated by it, or you feel like it's not doing your game any good, then try and develop a way of putting it out of your mind. Because words can do nothing, right? Words have no power over you. The only power that a team has over you is how well they bowl to you, right? And if the bowler is bowling brilliantly to you, then fair play. There's not much you can do about that. But if the bowler's giving you a chance and you're taking those chances, then what does it matter what they say to you? Say you play a miss at one and the bowler says you're rubbish. Well, you didn't do very well on that one, but the chances are that you're still at the crease. So the chances are that you're winning, you're in charge, right? So you can then control it. If you let it get to you and you suddenly start swinging at it because you think, I'm going to prove to him I'm not rubbish, actually, he's won. But if you use your mind consciously, so don't let that, learn to say to yourself, this is a negative thought that I'm having, and I'm just going to put that out of my mind, and I'm going to go back to batting in the way that I know is going to make me the most successful. And if you're confident as a player, then you're going to know what your most successful way of scoring runs is. And then you can carry on doing that, right? No matter what anyone says to you, you can carry on doing that. If they say something which puts a genuine doubt in your mind, then you're not fully confident about your game in the first place. And then you need to go back into the nets and work out your game plan, and a game plan that gives you the best chance of success. And when you walk out to bat and you're feeling like, oh, I've got the perfect game plan here, I know exactly how I get my runs, and I know that more often than not, I'm going to succeed in doing that. No one ever does it all the time. Not even Don Bradman managed that. And he averaged almost 100 in Test cricket. But if you know what your game plan is, and you know what's giving you the best chance of success, then it doesn't matter what anyone says to you, because they're going to be wrong. Because the only person who knows themselves fully, or has the chance to know themselves fully, is you. So carry on like that. Let's see, what else have we got? Please tell me what I should do when I go for a Yorker. It's going for a wide, and I'm a left-handed bowler. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't read your name, I'm afraid, my friend, but good question. Yorkers are really brilliant, and if you can bowl, as Ian Pont, the excellent fast bowling coach, once told me, if you can bowl 6 Yorkers at will, then you can write your own check for the IPL at high speed. So what a great thing to say. And yeah, having a Yorker is brilliant, no matter what type of bowler you are, whether you bowl at 90 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour, or 30 miles an hour. Having that Yorker is fantastic. The best Yorker practice that I've ever seen, and in fact the best practice for any type of bowling I've ever seen, is target bowling. Put down a target and try and hit it again and again and again. With Yorkers, of course, I'm going to mention PitchVision here, PitchVision ball tracking system, where you can put the mat down, put it up against the stumps. Obviously, you can't have a batsman in, but you don't want a batsman in for this type of practice anyway. Put the mat up against the stumps and try and hit the crease as many times as you can. Bowl, bowl, bowl until you can hit the crease as many times as you can. If you can work out a way of doing it, then you've got a way of doing it, and it doesn't matter what that way is. So try as much as you can. If you haven't got access to a PitchVision system, you can put down any kind of target. I've put down foam markers. I've seen coaches put down a pair of shoes, try and hit the pair of shoes, because that's the batsman's. That represents the batsman's feet. So go for the shoes, or even just a chalk mark or something like that. Put something down and try and hit it as much as you can. Simple as that when it comes to Yorkers or any kind of bowling. Okay, so I am going to finish the live feed there. As I said, I'm going to put down a few more questions on video, and I'm going to add it to this live feed, and we're going to put that onto PitchVision.com. So make sure you take a look at that when you get a chance. And you can also find out more about the PitchVision system, which I mentioned earlier over there. And you can carry on the discussion as well. We have a section for chatting and discussing things over there. And so, feel free to converse with each other. PitchVision is the place to go if you want to improve your cricket, and you want to talk about cricket, and you want to talk about playing the game. And for me, we've got some fantastic contributors and people who are just loving cricket as much as you do. So if you're one of those people who loves cricket, loves playing cricket, loves coaching cricket, then pitchvision.com is the place for you to go over and start the conversation and start chatting about things. That's all for this live feed. Thanks very much for tuning in, and head over to pitchvision.com for an extended version of this a little bit later on. Hello and welcome back to the second part of Ask PitchVision. The previous part was recorded live and put out on Facebook, and this is the exclusive section for pitchvision.com viewers. So if you had your question answered on Facebook, then you can carry on. There might be another question that is interest to you. And if you didn't have it answered, hopefully I'm going to cover it right now. So I'm going to fire through as many of these as I can in the next 10 minutes or so. So let's see what we've got. Let's fire through some of the questions that were posted earlier in the week. First of all, I've got them on my iPad here. So Gabrielle's question we've already managed to cover, and Sumit's question. So the next question was from Sri, and Sri says, what are the bowling basic drills for juniors and beginners? Now, obviously, it's difficult for me to demonstrate anything here, but I can tell you that the basics, one of the really, really easy basics is to just get them to try it, right? In modern terms, it's you might call it games for learning or something like that, where you get a bowler to bowl at a target, and it can be a real simple target, right? It doesn't have to be 20 yards away. It can be just a simple target, and say, try and make the ball land on that spot there, and make sure you keep your arms straight, and leave it at that. See if they can work it out for themselves. If it gets getting a little bit more advanced and you want to build in some sort of technical nuances there, then don't look any further than Ian Pont's 4 tent peg drills. Okay, and I can put a link to that into the section here, hopefully. But if not, do a search for Ian Pont's 4 tent pegs, and that will give you some great basic technical stuff that you can work with. But first and foremost, try and get kids to suss out for themselves how to do the thing, because most of the time they'll come up with a really simple solution. Next question is from Josh. And Josh says, I've spent the last 8 years batting without a helmet, and due to surgery, I now feel I need to wear one, but it makes my vision and movement feel restricted. Do you have any tips or drills that I can perform to get me used to wearing one? And do you have any suggestions on type of brand of helmet that is least restrictive in terms of vision? I've been told, I don't know this to be true, but what I've been told is the Shrey helmets give you the best vision, but I might be wrong on that. So, don't take my word for that. And if anyone is watching this and wants to post in the comments more proven manufacturers on what gives you the best vision, then go for it. I have a Missouri helmet myself, and these days, because of the restrictions on how you can adjust the helmet, it does affect your vision quite a lot more than it used to. I grew up without a helmet as well, so I know exactly what it's like. Again, and I have said this a lot during these sessions, The only way to do it is to do it. So just try. Put the helmet on and bat, right? Bat. Even if you don't wear any other protective gear, you're just doing drills with a tennis ball, right? Still put the helmet on. You might feel a bit stupid, but the only way to get used to it is to wear it, right? So wear it as much as you can. Wear it around the house if you want. I know of one famous 1970s and 80s England player who used to wear his pads around the house to wear them in before going on to tour. So if it's good enough for an international cricket, it's good enough for me. Put the helmet on, wear it. Wear it in nets, wear it when you're doing drills, wear it around the house. Just wear it as much as you can tolerate, and you will eventually get used to it. Next question is from Akash. Akash says, I'm a left-handed batsman and my foot goes across the line and I have a head falling problem. How can I improve it? And which drills can I use to improve my game? So really common, I don't want to say flaw, but a really common part of batting that makes people worry about their game is that idea of getting closed off when their front foot crosses over their back foot. Now, this is great if you want to play a cover drive, right? If you're on the front foot, you step across, the ball's outside off stump, it's a half volley, bang, you cover drive it. But for most other people, for most other shots, I should say, you can find that you end up having to move the bat around the pad. You haven't got a path from your back lift all the way through to the ball, so you have to go around your pads and you end up hitting it through square leg quite a lot, right? So if you find that you can play a good cover drive and you can flick it off your pads, but you can't hit kind of, mid-on to mid-wicket region, that could be the cause of the problem. If you want to be able to score in that region, or you're getting out LBW a lot, then yeah, you might want to work on that. And one really simple way to work on that, really simple, is to face left arm over bowlers, especially if they can swing the ball in. Because left arm over bowlers swinging the ball into you, it makes it really hard to cross your foot across. If you do that, you end up getting hit on the pad all the time, and you end up hitting the ball through square leg all the time, or flicking it all the time. So consciously opening yourself up to face left arm over bowling, or even a throw downs from round a right arm bowler bowling, or throw downs from a right arm around or left arm over, or a bowling machine set to left arm over. And if you can do that, then you're going to be facing the type of delivery that forces you almost to open yourself up and play in a more open, what we call an open position. It doesn't suit everybody, but if you're capable of doing it, even if it's not your preference, if you're capable of doing it, then it's going to do the job for you nicely. So try that. Left arm over bowling. Simple as that. Next question is from Anath, and Anath says, how do I play without fear when I'm playing with hard balls? Now, this is a real common one for younger players who are moving from softball cricket into hardball cricket. Avoiding the answer of just going and doing it, right? One of the simple things that you can do is make sure that you're confident in your technique. So you can do that without facing hard balls, right? You can do that with tennis balls or softballs, right? And cricket balls. You can make sure that your technique is locked in as good as possible, and then you will have the confidence that all you need to do is what you've been doing with a softball, with a hard ball, right? Because you never get hit with a softball because your technique is so good. So if you are able to hit balls off the front foot, off the back foot, pull, cut, drive, then with a tennis ball, then you can go into hard ball and do that more effectively. If you are already facing hard ball all the time and you're still feeling that fear, go back to softball. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're worried about people saying, you're facing a softball, you're rubbish, forget about that, right? Even the best batsmen in the world do practice with softballs for technical drills, right? If it's good enough for the number one batsman in the world, who is Michael Vaughan, right? It's good enough for you. So go back to softballs. Use softballs to get your footwork right, to get your alignment right, to get your balance right, and to get your contact point right. And then you're not going to be scared because you're never going to be hit because you're so good at hitting the ball. Okay, couple more questions. Real common question is the next one. Loads of people asked. Rahul is the example that I'm going to give here. Rahul said, how do I improve my fast bowling? What drills can I do? There's basically two things that improve bowling speed. It's your physical preparation. So your strength, your speed, and your power physically, how you move your body, and then your technique, right? What you do when you get to the crease, particularly when you get to the crease, although the run-up is important as well. If you are strong, so if you go into the gym and you've got a lot of strength, right, you can lift a lot of weight in the gym, then you can work more on your technique. If your technique is great, but you're still not getting the ball out very fast, then you can work on building up your strength in the gym. Okay, so this is a brief answer to a very long and complicated question, but if you feel like you've got a good technique, but the power isn't there, get in the gym and start doing some power work, start throwing some medicine balls, start bowling with a heavy ball, work on a program to improve your strength, improve your power, to improve your speed, do sprints, improve your muscular function, right? And if it's the other way, if it's technique, then yeah, there's several things that you can do. You know, you can make sure you're getting that stretch reflex working where you create that rubber band effect in your action of it snapping through. The hip is really important in this. You're making sure that you're driving your hip through and you're not stopping your action. You're getting a really good follow through because your hip is coming through. And you're getting into a great position on your back foot. So if your back foot lands heavy, then you lose a lot of power. And if your front foot lands with a bent knee, then you're losing power. So look at each point, going back to Ian Pont's 4 tent pegs, look at the positions in each of the 4 tent pegs and try and work on those to improve those and get those into a better position. And if you do that, then if you've got technique and you've got strength, then you're going to bowl fast, right? Simple as that. Well, certainly faster than you are now. Not everyone can bowl at 90 miles an hour, 140 Ks, but you'll certainly be quicker than you are now if you've got room to improve. One more question. And this one's from Khan. And Khan says, what's your opinion on trigger movements while batting? And how do you do it correctly? Trigger movements are another one of those controversial things because not everybody agrees with what's best. And what you tend to find is that people will generally, especially commentators, right, on TV, because they have to give an opinion, and it has to be black or white, they will say what they think is best. And they'll be able to justify that by saying, basically, that it worked for me, and here's why it worked for me. So there's no one answer for everybody. The best thing I can give is the simple thing of saying, try different things and see how they feel for you, okay? Some people prefer a bigger trigger move because they want that energy built up, right? They want to build up that energy and do a back and across movement and then move their other foot across and then be ready, spring, loaded, ready to play their shots, right? Dynamic. Some people prefer the other way. They want to stand as still as they possibly can. Keep your head still. Get ready. Get everything relaxed, right? Body ready to fire, but it's ready to fire with the minimal of movement. And other people will have different ways of doing things. So you have to experiment with different things and see what feels right for you. And it might and you'll know pretty quickly what feels right and what doesn't feel right. So don't spend a lot of time working on something that doesn't feel right for you. Instead, go back to what feels more comfortable for you. So if standing completely still feels comfortable for you, that's the one. But still experiment, right? Because you never know what you might find if you experiment with something. The forward press, for example, is something that came in maybe 10 years ago of a way of stepping out towards the ball, especially against spin. And so you're sort of halfway there to playing a shot, either coming down the wicket or using it to spring back again. So experiment with the forward press, see how that feels. It might work well for you. Or if you're like the chap who we were talking with earlier, who tends to cross his feet over, then if he does a forward press, he might end up falling over and then he can only play the ball through square leg and he keeps getting out OEW. Well, that's because of the forward press trigger move that actually other people find really useful. So there's no one answer. There's no one answer fits all. Like most things in cricket, very few things are one size fits all. You need to hold the bat by the handle. That's probably one size fits all. I don't know anyone who's been successful holding the bat by the blade. But most other things, there's flexibility. So try it out. See what works for you. Try that forward press, especially against spinners. That might work for you. Try the back and across. See if that works for you. Some people go back and across just in one movement. Some people go back and across and step across again. Some people are still moving while the ball is bowled. Now, what's one of those fundamentals? Your head has to be still when the ball's bowled. Nope. Some people, they're still moving when the ball's bowled. They're fine. They're happy with it. They can do it, right? So, but most people aren't. So try it. See what happens, right? Try a late trigger move. Try an early trigger move where you take that trigger really early before the bowler's even managed to get through his action, right? Trigger, set, play your shot, okay? Try different things. See what works for you, and you might come to an answer. Okay, that's the end of this pre-recorded section of Ask PitchVision. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Sorry there hasn't been a lot of dynamic stuff going on in the background, or you've just looked at my face the entire time. But hopefully you've got some useful information there. And of course, you can discuss what I've talked about. You can disagree with me. You can come back with more questions, whatever you want, right? Just use pitchvision.com as your place to share ideas, discuss things, talk through your problems, and talk to other people who are just as passionate about cricket as you are. And if you do that regularly, then you're definitely going to improve your game, right? Because reflection and review is a vital part of becoming a better cricketer.